Hmm. Hmm. Oh my goodness. Oh man, oh man. What can I say? PJ, what's happening? Pay attention. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Crazy Sarge. Well, first for Mr. PJ Allen, thank you for joining me. Tiger Strong. Dr. Sinister. If I didn't say it already, Crazy Sarge. James P. James HP. Marcus the Great. I think it should be pretty obvious what I got to say. All right. The final game was 1-0, what is it? 1-0 101 to 85. Wasn't that the final score? What and so are you getting ready for work? Yeah, I know you about to go in. I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna go watch the pro game. Dallas is about to play somebody on NBA Network. But this game, this game here, it if this refing was any indication what we're gonna see tomorrow, it is going to be a strictly. Give me a second. Strictly. I wonder if this is gonna go to there. Dude, teenage attitude. But anyway. All right. I want to get into the game. I watched the game. It was pretty decent. But let me say, watching WrestleMania tonight. Okay. Let me say this. It was obvious. If you looked at the script, it was very obvious in the first half what the agenda was. Now, what was being allowed was they were being allowed to hold, they were being allowed to impede the progress of offensive players. LSU was allowed the whole game to hold and impede the progress of the offensive player. And they gave Paige, let me say this, they gave Paige two fouls after she's being held with contact separating herself. Now, the worst fixed call of the game was when she threw the ball out of bounds, which actually, and if you anybody knows basketball, a three-man rotation, you're not quite sure sometimes where all the refs was. So she took it, she threw it behind her back. At the worst, it's delay a game. When she threw the ball out of bounds, that's delay a game. That is not a technical foul, nor is it a personal foul. It is strictly, it is strictly a delay a game. Strictly. So that was a terrible call in itself. How do you call a technical foul, award points in the ball in a championship game on a delay a game? Delay a game has two warnings, and it is never, the second warning is a team tech. Both warnings are the if you once it's a tech, that's a team tech and not a personal tech. It's a delay a game warning. That was horrific. But then let's look at the script. As I made the little short, one thing that becomes obvious in the script is the number 4 or 5, the girl with the reddish hair, she went 5 for 5 in the second half, making 4 threes. up to the point where she hit her first three. Well, it wasn't even her that hit the first three. Well, maybe it was. Whichever girl, no, it was her that hit the first three for them. And you know what they said? When in the first half, when LSU hit a three, they said it was the girl who hit the three was 4 out of 22. The whole tournament. So the previous 3 games, she's only made 4. So the odds of her making one are very small. They shot 57% as a team, fouling out one player. So the refs dominated the game. They made 9 threes in the first half. They made 0 in the third quarter. Didn't even shoot them in the third quarter. Now, how is that? You're so hot, and then in the third quarter, you don't shoot. Now, a lot of people say, well, maybe they were conserving time. If that's not your game plan, that's not your game plan. But you see how you can see when the balls fall in and you see the script. And that's why I showed the halftime. That was just clear mocking on who was going to win. And then in the final quarter, they went 2 out of 2. Most points in the NBA Finals. And then they put, she won in year 2. I know my gematria people, she won in year 2 and turn around for the ages. And I bet if we look at all this for my gematria people, this probably, but this was like blatantly, it's like there were mistakes made in this game that it just makes no sense for a professional team of referees. Because, all right. Yeah, what time? I don't care. So, you can call it what you want. Let me see. Leopard printed all of it. The rest are all random spots. They don't need to get ready for the ball when it's coming. They don't know when it's coming. The rest are all in random spots. 57 should have been higher. They should have shot that. It was deliberately, to me. Yeah, it was obvious that they were pushing them. And the number of tries, because they even said that they were a team that didn't shoot a lot of outside shots as a team. But all of a sudden, you're shooting big outside shots in the biggest game. And that generally doesn't go for average shooters. Like the girl whose video I highlighted, and I don't know if my angle, I looked at her form, and she had one of the weirdest forms because she was like almost throwing it this way, and at the last minute, she kind of drops her arm, but she throws it a lot. A lot of her shot, and that half court, the shot right before halftime, she had a lot of this, a lot of two-hand throw in that shot. Now she I'll say she's a late dropper. She'll drop her hand late. I noticed that, but because I was looking at the way she brings the ball up. She was bringing the ball up, but her release was starting with 2 hands, and then she kind of drops to one. Her release was kind of like a little bit of like this instead of most people separate up there. She had still a little bit of push, and then she separated with the other hand. So I don't know this game, and again. To me, the dominant part of what the referees did was not make the calls when they were holding. And that's what they did to the poor, whatever the girl from Iowa's name, Caitlin, whatever her name is. That's what they were doing. And you can't, as a referee, again, if I'm looking at the contact, if the defender is causing contact to impede the offensive player, I got to call it on the defender. Now, if you're not going to call that and then the offensive player separates with contact, you have to be consistent and not call that. You have to be consistent and not call that. That's consistent, not call that. Because if I'm allowing the defender to hold, because her third foul, that's exactly what happened. Her second and third foul. Because remember, early in the game, they tried to steal it from her. They fouled her. So, I don't know. Why didn't they make the calls? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Catlin. Catlin Jenner. Nah, I'm talking about the young lady won player of the year. And then they say, now I didn't know this. She's not eligible for the draft. So they make the women play 4 years. Now that's what I would sue against. If I was the women, I'd sue for that. Because you can go play over in Europe now. Why couldn't you? So she's got to play college 1 more year. So that's why I wanted to come on now and talk about this, because this game. I mean, it was so obvious, so obvious what they were doing. I mean, this was like in your face obvious. And then you start allowing impeding. That changes the way the game is called. See, when that girl hit the first shot, that signaled everybody that the basket is on. Because this is a team, as you see, they did not take, when they ran their natural offense, there was no threes. Now, maybe the coach made an adjustment, said we don't need to, we're up by such and such. We don't need to shoot any more threes. And because they did not shoot any threes they went 0 for 2 in the third quarter. Right? Let me see. Is that what I meant? Yeah. They only shot 2 threes. After shooting, they shot in the first half, they shot 12 or 13 because they didn't make every one of them. And then the third quarter, and then the rest of the game, they only shot 4 threes the rest of the game. So do you tell me you can't say that doesn't appear like it's set up? That's the old Steph Curry thing. Let's let them get hot in the first half, and we'll give them a big enough lead, and it'll be hard for the team to come back. And then they don't even attempt. You would think they would have ended up in the 20s with threes. But to shoot 11 or 12 in the first half, and maybe they only shot 11, but at least 11, 12, because they didn't make every one. They missed some threes. You would think they would come out shooting the same way in the second half. And you see they didn't. So they were scripted because they knew and this is probably how once a person who doesn't shoot a lot of threes, they already see the script. And then the second person hitting, they like, okay, it's on for us. So they know to throw them up there. Because that bank off the backboard, we know that was just a throw it up there shot. And they scripted for both sides, there's no doubt. You saw the hard goes ins. You saw the hard rattling baskets. I'll tell you what, we saw a lot of them layups where they was bringing them layups back in too. Now, I didn't have any money on this game. I didn't really care. I don't pull for any one of them. I know all sides are doing, they're helping, but it was obvious that the gamblers felt and the controllers felt, unless they called it harder, because they didn't call hardly any contact calls against Iowa at all. Not at all. They were letting all contact go on the Iowa side. And that was blatant. I mean, very blatantly that they helped them. So yeah, I don't understand it. And I know it's NFL, but I'm an NFL guy. Okay. So yeah, it was poor. It was a poor showing. It made them wonder. Hey, Read My Soul, thank you for joining me. It makes me wonder, like, as a product, you looked at that product, and to guarantee the success that the product of the NCAA has, they really had to have the referees' help. Because without the referees' help, without that long lead, it'd have been a tough road for LSU. But see, one thing you learn when calls aren't being made, when you're hand checking, you continue to do it. You see it, you continue to do it. As I said, just go back to her fourth foul where they called that tech. Go back to where she gets her third foul. The girl from Iowa gets her third foul. Look at that play there. That tells you all you need to know, because at the beginning of the play, she's being held. Matter of fact, her last 2 fouls, both times she was being held, and to get separation. So, and another part they could have done is they could have said, okay, if we give her a lot of hand checks, a lot of hand checks, a lot of body, she'll push off, and the refs can call a foul for that. It could have been looked at as that too. We can't put that out of hand. But this was a bad product. I mean, this really was a bad product that you had to make it that blatantly to make us believe that this team, who was an inside scoring team. Now, the girl that went 5 for 5 in the first half with the dyed red hair, when she shot her 5th shot in the free throw, that's the mid-range game. That is her game. But her hitting those 4 threes is not her game. She was 2 out of 20-something. I think is what it was. It was 2 out of 20 something or 4 out of 20 something. So she hadn't taken, she hadn't made only 4 threes in the previous 3 games. She had shot 22 threes in 3 games. All right, so so she wasn't making them. She wasn't making them. And now she comes out hot. So that's the only thing. And it's not hating. Congratulations to them, but you want to see them congratulated for a better effort, because as a production, it wasn't a very good production at all. That's my point. Well, compared to the game, the men's games, well, the first game was good. The second game wasn't as good, but it wasn't a good production, and that's my gripe. And to make it so obvious that the referee controlled the game, I mean, why would you want that? You want it to look more natural, but this was like they didn't even care, because all the holding, all the pushes in the backs was just let go. I mean, it was just let go. So I guess that's some of the just some of that blows my mind. I mean, I'm like, wow, this is I don't know. Just as a product, it doesn't look good. Do you think this existence is a prison planet? That's interesting that you say that, because I know the one brother, and welcome, Soap. It's interesting that you say that, because I know that Black Magic dude or whatever it's called. I know he had Dr. Valentine on there, and that's something he would always say. Call it a prism. When you look at the color spectrum, and I'll say that where that another part of that would come from is because, as you know, sound creates color, and then the color starts producing. Part of the production of color is a prism. So that could be locked into illusion as well. So, uh, seems at times, is that the simulation? Uh, I know Dr. Valentine also talks about this being a cesspool kind of creation. I mean, it's turned into that. Wasn't always that. See, people act like, especially in the sex industry, people act like that didn't always exist. But what exists before wasn't as gross as what exists now. I mean, again, bordellos was very common in neighborhoods, very controlled. It wasn't girls walking around the streets when it was cold. It was, a big ass house. You go into these big ass houses. And I only just say this is it might have turned into this. It might have turned into this. I think you can't, say that out of pocket isn't kind of what possibly. But also, even coming from the prism is, they're gonna control time out of the prism. Now, is time in the prism? Very possibly, but it appears like not. Like they still had to produce time. So that's, I would say that the time, when they produce time, then it freed certain things. Now, could they use the crystals to control the consciousness? That's a little bit of the folklore again, going back to Atlantean thing. That's why they talk about Atlantis like it was such a great thing. But again, if you do the deep studies into Atlantean theory, it is to crystallize consciousness. It is to control, to bind consciousness. That's what you got to get it out of that Atlanta kind of thinking. So perhaps. I saw one of the Laker games, and it was just a mess. So many fouls and stupid decisions. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, when you see the other team, like kind of like, wow, the script is on for them, and it truly was. And so it wasn't even good entertainment. And it's easy to make good entertainment. It is really easy to make good entertainment. To make these games entertainable, not controlled by, one source. And that's really what we saw. We saw the referees control the game by the no calls, the calls, and the no calls. So that's what's going on. And so I thought I'd come on. Other team could put up a good game if good decisions are made. Well, I'll say this though. Again, if you look at today, you can't say that. Now the big girl, that one foul they called on her in the moving screen was kind of iffy too. So I don't know if it's the players' decisions is more of the refs' decisions, because obviously Paige did have a way of trying to separate with her elbow, and the refs was looking for that. But on the other hand, if you foul me, if you're fouling me, and I use that to get you off me, it shouldn't be called. Because if you're not your hand and trying to direction me and controlling me with your hand or with your hips or with your chest, that's all a foul. You're making contact. So if I push off of you when I time you a time where your hand check because you're so close to me. So if I push off of you when you're close and on me like that, it shouldn't be called. Now, if no time are you making contact with me and then I make the contact and push you off, okay, that's player control, definitely. But if it's like the whole time before, the time before, if you're fouling me and then I throw you off of me, nothing should be called. Because you didn't call the first, and you were still looking at, like when she had her third foul, they were looking at the play the whole time. So don't tell me you didn't see the other call or the other contact, because as soon as she got the ball, she was being fouled. Because one thing that they did do is they pressed her a little further up court, but they pressed her along with the hands. And as you looked at the rest of the game, the whole LSU team was hand checking, and nothing was called. They were pushing in the back, nothing was called. Now that has nothing to do with player decisions. That makes the players frustrated that it's called so single-handedly, and that's what we saw today. And so I am taken away from LSU because what we saw was not even a good script. And again, I didn't bet. I have no allegiance or allegiance to any team. Just saying, it's just a fan and wanting a good product. That wasn't a good product, because it shows you how hard they had to cheat for the other team if they thought they had to overcompensate for LSU. To make sure they won, they really had to overcompensate, because that's what I saw. I saw a team that looked outmatched, and without the referee's help, remember the beginning of the game was 3 straight turnovers for LSU. So I think after they saw that, they said, "Hey, we better put a greater hand." And this was and no one can say that this wasn't a game that the refs cheated. The refs helped LSU. Now I rarely say a game that the refs helped the team, but the refs should get just as much credit for helping LSU as LSU, because it was truly two entities against one. They were playing against the refs, and they were playing against LSU. So it makes me wonder how it's going to look tomorrow night with the men. Whoops. Yeah. 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 It's very similar. Truth Teller Jay. I see what you're saying. The refs controlling the game. Sort of like when the Lakers play. Well, they do. Good. Some geometry. 515 equals 33. I was even looking into the coach's record. The record was 33-2, which throws the 33 Mason in there, Master Mason, but it also throws a Master Mason. It was 33-2. You can put the 32 together too. So I thought that was interesting when they showed her overall record this year. I thought that was kind of an interesting point as well. So yeah. But it's a beautiful day up here. I'm not going to go too long. It's 50 degrees. Everybody left the house. My daughter didn't want to go, and I wanted to do this to talk about, see if anybody else wanted to talk about the game, because I thought that was quite interesting, the way they did it. And I knew that once the geometry people came in, that they would start breaking it down from their perspective. And that's my perspective. My perspective is that's how overmatched they felt. I felt that the gamblers felt that they couldn't leave chance to the players, that the referees had to be more heavily involved. And think about it. It was all a woman. It was all women's Final Four refereeing. And this is the product that they did. So if you think that the women aren't told what to do just as much as the men referees are told what to do, it's the same same type of control. So I was I don't know, but one of the family friends, she has people in LSU, so she was quite happy they won. Last night she had the Miami shirt on, and Miami lost last night. But today she had the hey Nicole B, thank you for joining. The referees can't always do the stuff for an entertaining show. They ruin it, and that's it. Yeah, yeah. The referees were the highlight of this female Final Four, and I just wonder what forecasting that is for the men. That's really something that seems like it might come up. It seems like we'll see. Mm, we'll see what we'll have tomorrow. But I think a lot of times when we see something like this in the girls' side, when they turn it into the men's side, we might see something fairly similar. We might see something fairly similar. The LSU coach is the Pink Flamingo. Yes, she is. I don't know why I just haven't done that in the beginning. Just bring this monitor closer. Oh yeah, and that's why with Quantum of Science, I'm just having fun with the magenta, but he'd be like, "Oh no," that is so entertaining. My man Matt McKinley, check him out. Ivo TV too, ivo.org, I think it's called Ivo TV. You can check out Quantum of Science. And on Sundays, is it IVO? Let me give you precise what it is. IO, because you have some good stuff on it. Where is it? I forget. Funny that's no. I think it is in here. Here we go. Free Voice is freevoice.io. Freevoice.io. And it'll be under Matt McKinney. He does those on Sundays. So it is on you on what you want to do. Gosh, I kind of, let's see. Yes. I'm going to have some fun with that a little later. Yeah. Put it up in there. So that's just my opinion, guys. It's funny. I say that because the Final Four would have been good if they actually did it right. Exactly. Oh, you had a crush. Jake Truth said I had a crush on Caitlin Clark. Well, she didn't hoop tonight. But then again, they just played kind of lame and the game was screwed. Well, I think she had every right to be frustrated. I really did. She had every right as a team to be frustrated because the calls weren't even. I mean, they didn't even try to hide that the calls weren't even. I mean, this was a game that they had all the referees like helped. And not to say that they didn't make good plays because we knew that the bigger tall girl for LSU, we knew she was going to be a problem with rebounds. Now I'll say that they never really kept her off the board despite having players just as the big size. Other than the girl that fouled out, the 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 pick she set that they called a foul was bogus. To give her third foul, that was a bogus call. Now the other ones, trying to guard the big girl, Barks the bigger girl for LSU, those were all good calls. But see, you can see where they're looking to make certain calls as they were trying to justify her calling this against Caitlin. They were looking for that. They were looking to call that against her. But again, if you're holding me and impeding my progress, I have every right to separate from you. And don't give me that they didn't catch the first foul, so they called the second foul. Don't give me that. They got monitors and everything. Now, the clear outs that they let both get, I thought the big girl from LSU's clear out was clearly intentional. Now, the one that they let go for Iowa, I thought that was a charge because the girl played such good defense. When you seen it live, she beat her. When she went to make her next move, the girl from LSU had beat her to the spot, and she went through her. So I was surprised that wasn't a player control foul because she beat her to the spot. If you watched it live, it was like she anticipated her next move, and so the girl had no choice but to go through her, and that was offensive foul. And they called that because they said the other one wasn't. And the announcers were trying to justify some of the calls. So the announcers can read the room, and so they know how to start making certain calls. They want LSU to get their first championship. Yeah, Nicole, they absolutely did. She did. The calls weren't even, and the boss probably threw all the money to them to make the team look stupid. They should agree to something instead of wasting green petty stuff. Well, I don't know, but that was my impression. That was my impression of the game. And I don't know. I'm not gonna be home tomorrow, so I don't. I doubt I'm gonna go live while the game's going on. Maybe, because I'm gonna be at somebody else's house, and that's so we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if we do tomorrow night or not. And I still haven't put any money on the game yet, so I didn't have any money on this game. So I don't want anybody to say it's sour grapes or I'm a sore loser. I didn't care either way. But just as a fan, I'm looking. I want the game to be some kind of competitive as a fan, knowing these teams are pretty evenly matched. And then you're trying to sell to me. You're trying to sell to me this team that hasn't been hitting threes the whole year, not just this whole tournament, the whole year. All of a sudden, they get hot when the whole year has been mid-range, inside. I mean, it doesn't work like that. It's not that big a turnaround. How many traveling calls on Iowa? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was some I saw both teams that they called them. And I thought, but yeah, a lot of it, like one where they was about to come. What was it? It was about to come within 9, and they called traveling on them at a crucial time. Yeah. And it's interesting. Like I watched a player. Number one, or the longer hair short girl from Iowa really made some good plays. Like that drive she made down the middle, she was really trying to say, "Look, you, Catlin, you need a little help," and she was trying to help her. And this is what I had told my nephew. Something like I've told this story before. I played with a group of guys that froze me out. I had 26 points in the first half. They froze me out the rest of the game. But the point is, I didn't change the way I played despite them. I was still going to work to try to get the ball. And so I saw her doing very something similar because Caitlin was wanting the ball. She had just generated a couple plays back to back. And then she gave Caitlin the ball. She tried to generate a screen, and she kind of went in the corner, and she kind of lowered her head, and then she put her head back up. And she did exactly what I was telling my nephew. She didn't change her game. She was trying to get another energy going, and she saw Caitlin wasn't with it. Because she was trying to get like a 2 game between them going instead of trying to work through the big people. She was trying to, you know, because again, she saw the lows when Caitlin sat on the bench and nobody else was doing anything. So she was trying to be a second pickup. And again, the other girl wasn't really with it. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. So um I do want to see that. Let's see if we can have some fun. I might save it for later. I think you go there. Oh yeah, okay. Cool. All right. I don't need to do it right now. I can do it later. Don't know if I can find what I'm looking for. But yeah, that was all. Yeah, she had every right to be upset at that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But she didn't change her game. Is my point? Is she didn't change her game despite, and that's how you have to be. If you can't let others change the way you're doing something, because in basketball, especially, if you get to taking off plays, that becomes a habit where you get to watching. You get an attitude, they ain't past me, but where you get to watching. Nah, no matter what, I'm still gonna move around like I normally would, expecting. Yep. It's basic stupidity when they do nowadays. Sometimes it is. It is. So that was just my observation. Again, I'm not going to go much longer because it is a nice day and I'm going to get a little bit outside. If I don't do nothing but walk up and down the block, I'm going to get some air outside, do something because it's shining. You know what they say, it's always good to get a little sun on you. You got the windows open, the heat ain't coming off and on, and the snow is melting. Uh, yeah, just had a lot of people leave for the girls' game. It was interesting. We had another house full of people here for the women's game. Ate again. We had the Irish meal, um, corned beef and cabbage. Uh, to be fair, they did rubbish in the Aaron Hernandez trial. Well, I mean that is, I guess, a whole show on itself, but it is very doubtful. The story about him is really not believable, and I care one way or the other about him, but it's just not a believable story. And the part to say you found a body and you found a smoke joint near the body, I mean, who's that nonchalant? If anybody has a body, and then you would put the body in your own county, like nobody else, nowhere else to put it but your own county, and not only your own county near your subdivision. Now, some people might say that sounds like an amateur. Now, to me, that sounds like a setup. That sounds like a setup, if anything. So I doubt he got taken out in prison. He's probably just got plastic surgery and doing something else because none of that story makes sense. Nor do I care about it, but it just doesn't make sense. Because, of course, when they say they get off in jail, things was that bad. Really, most people think about it. When you got people on death row, why do they appeal? And they don't even have to appeal. It's like goes do an appeal themselves. I mean, if it was truly just death, you would, after you get convicted, you take them right to the gallows. That's the old days. You got convicted of death or hanging, they would hang you. You got convicted, they would hang your ass right there. They don't do that though, do they? They don't do that. So it just makes you wonder. So that's why I try to stay out of a lot of the popular talk because most of it is artificially put there. Now, I'll say this about today's game: it was ref bad on purpose because the bad refing is going to be talked about. It's going to give the event life after the event is over. That's what all the talking heads are going to be talking about. And the other part is this game ain't gonna be talked about much. Each ESPN is gonna give this thing about 4 or 5 minutes, and they gonna move right on. And when the talking heads come on tomorrow afternoon, they're gonna talk about it for about 4 or 5 minutes, and it ain't gonna be that much of a big deal. They're going to mostly talk about what's happening tonight. It is going to be glossed over like it was just a regular Final Four for women. That's the way it's going to be presented by the talking heads tomorrow. Like there weren't any bad calls or anything. That is what's going to be presented tomorrow. That just LSU just had the willpower and they got hot at the right time. That is going to be the agenda we're going to see. Liquid Fire, thank you for joining me. So that's predictive programming for tomorrow. Even tonight on ESPN, ain't gonna be nothing controversial about them calls. Watch. Nothing of it's gonna be controversial. It's all gonna be just normal, normal, normal. That's all we're gonna see, and that's okay. But moving on, tomorrow night should be a fun game. Let's see the over and under. Put it up here. So used to using my phone to search, but let's see what they say here. Oh. Mm. Mm. let's see. Is that bringing up what I need? Tickets? No. Here we go. Is this for Monday night's game? Final Four national point spreads, odds, Final Four. Yeah, this can't be right here. When is this? Let's see. I don't think this is it. We need to North Carolina. Wow, North Carolina. Last year, North Carolina was okay. They were 4-5. I don't think. What is Monday? Tip off. Yeah, this is still. This is still. Yeah, this is not today. This is all for yesterday. This might be it right here. See again. This is not. This is not. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, this is not for tomorrow. Where is? Why aren't they? They have not set the line. I'm sure they have. Let's see. Uh, hmm. Um, uh, let's try another one. Ooh. All right, this might be it. Let's see. Okay, this is it. I mean, maybe this is it. Oh, here we go. All right, let's see. Right here. San Diego State versus UConn prediction. UConn gets 7. To win 100, you got to bet 110. And what's the over and under here? I don't see an over and under. Over and under. No over and under on this. Yeah, I don't see an over and under. So you're getting 7, giving up 7. You got to bet 110 to win 100. So I might take some of that. That I might take. Huh? Why no over and under? That's odd that they don't give both. Yeah, no over and under. So the Aztecs. Wait, right here. No. So yeah, so again with the Aztecs, it's the same bet. But the only thing is you're still paying this $100 to make this 110, but you get 7 points. You're getting 7. Well, right here, the over and under here is 131. So this is over and under. 131 is the over and under. So I don't know what you guys think about that. So I think I would take that. I would say, the game last night went under. And I think San Diego State might have a tough time scoring. We'll see. Because we saw the drought of scoring. when they were stuck on 40, they didn't score for about 3-4 minutes. I don't know if y'all remember that about the game. They had a low of scoring. When they was on 40, they was stuck on 40 for a minute. And I don't know if anybody else picked up on that. So there you go. It's whatever, those are the odds. Those are the odds. So if you want those odds, there you go. There you go. But yeah, it's 50 degrees up here, y'all. After we done had a blizzard, not 24 hours, we had a blizzard about 48 hours ago. Now it's out there. Everything is drip, 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 drip and running. But it's like, as you see, this is all natural sunshine. I've got to put some plants in this room. So there's still a lot of work to do in this room. I got to put some plants. Got a lot of natural sunlight. This is to my west. And so, I have my big plants over in this, my daughter's room. But I'm going to bring some plants and put them over here. Also, and anywhere in this room that really would, like if I had some other plants that didn't need direct sun, I could put them over here so they still get a little sun. So, still a lot of work to do, a lot of art to still put up. I haven't put all the art up. So, yeah. San Diego State plays good defense. Yeah, James? And welcome, James. Oh, PJ said he's just watching, no bet. I don't know. Sometimes I get lazy. It's like I'll say now I want to bet and then get to the game and I'll really just forget. I'll really forget. The ads be coming on. I was like, so I don't know. I kind of like these odds. And again, you're winning 110. It takes you got to put out 110 and you're really only winning 10. But no, on the other hand, you're going to win an extra 100. You get your 100 that you put in and you're going to get 100 back if you win. And 7.5 points. And then if you go over and under and hit on that, whatever, you put into that. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I put money on it. But yeah, they play good defense, but they're scoring. They're scoring. That's where they're going to suffer. Is they're scoring. Now Hawkins didn't have a great game, but they want to push him. And he reminds me so much of a dude from Villanova named was it Dennis McClain? Because you had Ed Pickney, but I think his name was Dennis. He reminds me of that dude. His game is so much like that dude. And he didn't end up well, I don't want to put that out there, but he was an average pro, I'll say. He wasn't a great pro, but I thought he was a great college player when he helped Villanova beat Georgetown, which to me was the first game of the basket manipulation system fully ingrained in the college game, was the 85 Georgetown-Villanova game, which, to remind you guys, Villanova shot 71% from the field, which is impossible. And you had a guy named Jensen that hit 7 threes. 21 points? Yeah, he had 21 points. He was like a 2-point averager, wasn't playing very much. But in the final game, he's Mr. Super Guy. I mean, at least when Vinzucino, who now is with Golden State, at least when he won MVP, he can hoop. This Jensen dude for Villanova then couldn't hoop. But they made him a hero in one game. And that's what they do. They try to, create the unbelievable story. And those of us that pick up on it know it's unbelievable. So, but yeah. So that's my only gripe. That's why I came on here. Anticipation of the game tomorrow. There's a pro game on right now. And I'm gonna go outside and enjoy some of this sun, because the sun is a motherfucker. It don't like around here. Yesterday, with all that snow dropped and I walked outside, the shit damn near blind me. It was so bright from the snow and the sun. So, I'm going to let y'all enjoy your Sunday. I will be back around, y'all see me. I'm going to wait till the midnight hour, that when my love comes tumbling down. So, thank you for joining me. I just had a little gripe to say about this women's Final Four. I'll be back late if you guys want to talk about it anymore.